I can't help feeling that this latest DC animated movie, Superman Unbound, was made in large part to kind of ride the popularity of the then upcoming Man of Steel movie. Now, now maybe that's just me thinking of the potential for bottom line decision making mindset in certain artists, but yeah, that's just a theory I have, and honestly, it doesn't really seem all that far fetched in the grand scheme of things. But does that change? Does that affect my opinion on this movie? No, no. It's Superman Unbound. It's not a sequel to Batman Superman Apocalypse, although it could almost be viewed as such. It deals partially with Supergirl trying to adapt to Earth customs and trying to really come into her own as a fellow superhero. Although her more brutal methods, are not exactly agreeing with those of Superman. Superman is trying to keep his cousin under control while at the same time trying to balance his relationship with Lois Lane. However, the proverbial monkey wrench comes in the form of an alien artificial intelligence known as Brainiac. Supergirl apparently has knowledge of Brainiac because he was apparently a big part of why her people aren't exactly here anymore. So Superman takes it upon himself to find and destroy Brainiac with the help of Supergirl. So that's the basic gist without giving too much away. That's the general premise. Now, I'll be honest, when I went into this, I wasn't expecting a whole lot. I was just expecting something painfully average. I was because when I heard that they were going to do this, I was just like, ugh, really another Superman movie? I mean, just because him and Batman are your most popular superheroes does not mean that they should be the only ones you make movies about. Although, although that does seem to be their general plan, is to include Batman, Superman, or the Justice League in as many of these titles as they can. I mean, Batman Superman Apocalypse was primarily about Supergirl, and she wasn't even in the title. And Wonder Woman apparently did not sell as well as they wanted it to, so they scrapped plans for a Wonder Woman sequel. So So, from a money making perspective, I understand why they made another Superman movie, but from an artistic perspective, I just wasn't really that interested right off the bat. I wasn't dreading it. I mean, I didn't think they would make something horrible. But when I watched this, didn't exactly have I didn't exactly have high expectations going in. But to my surprise, it's good. I mean, it's not great, but it's still it's still a solid flick. It's still a solid Superman flick. And really, I think the best part about it is the voice acting. And this was another point that had me a little concerned, because these are voice actors who, to my knowledge, have never voiced these characters before. But honestly, the cast in this movie does a really good job. I mean, I was surprised at how easily that these actors fit into these roles. I was shocked at how much I really liked each of them in their respective parts. In fact, a lot of these cast members, not only would I not mind seeing them again voicing these characters, but a lot of them are in my top 5 choices for their respective characters. Matt Bomer voices Superman, and man, is he likable in this movie. He portrays the authority that's necessary for Superman, but also he does a really good job of portraying the more human, unsure side of Kal-El, of Clark Kent. I mean, he has a certain everyman quality, while at the same time never really letting you forget that yes, this is Superman. I mean, it's a really good performance, and like I said, very surprised. I was very surprised how relatable Superman was and how again likable he was. So Matt Bomer does a really good job, as does Stana Katic as Lois Lane. Now I've always liked Stana Katic, although granted I haven't really seen her in a whole lot. I mean, the only the only other character I've heard her voice is Talia al Ghul in Batman Arkham City, and she was good there. But as Lois Lane, man, is she charismatic. I mean, not only does she capture the professionalism and intelligence of Lois Lane, but she also captures the kind of plucky, feisty quality that is necessary for the character, I think. Like I said, the best way I can describe her performance is just charismatic. I mean, she's professional. She's a lot of fun. She's and she just oozes charisma. I mean, she is so good in this role. Not quite. She's probably my second favorite actress to portray Lois Lane, at least in a voiceover role. I don't really think I like her quite as much as Dana Delaney, but she comes damn close. Closer than Polly Perrette. Molly Quinn voices Kara Zor-El, aka Supergirl. And no, I'm not going to make a Castle joke because I haven't seen Castle. But Molly Quinn takes over from Summer Glau as Supergirl, and much like Matt Bomer, she really fits into these. She really fits into this role pretty nicely. She's kind of like she's kind of like Summer Glau in that you can easily tell that she is very unsure of herself, but at the same time, she really has a very nice high energy about her that I think suits this stage of the character. This character is really trying to come into her own, and for as heavy as this movie can get at times, she really does a good job of A, lightening up the mood, and B, when she needs to, be very dramatic in carrying some of these heavier scenes, like when she's recounting her experiences with Brainiac. I mean, she portrays a whole range of emotions, and again, I actually think she's a little bit better than Summer Glau, if I'm being painfully honest. Um, but yeah, I really liked her in the role, and the final shout out I want to give is to John Noble as Brainiac. Now, I don't really like the design of Brainiac all that much. I've heard some people, even some internet personalities, say that he looks like the Martian Manhunter, and yeah, 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 he has that kind of Cro-Magnon brow that people usually associate with the Martian Manhunter. He has these very dark, pupilless eyes. Well, I'm trying to remember. Well, yeah, he looks too much like the Martian Manhunter. I will admit, but John Noble, regardless of his design, does do a fairly chilling turn as this supercomputer. I mean, his voice, it's kind of like Corey Burton in that he's kind of doing this very how in this he's doing this kind of 2001: A Space Odyssey esque performance. You know, Hal in that movie. But at the same time, he injects just a little bit more personality into the character. He inserts a little bit more narcissism than Corey Burton did. which again helps differentiate him from Corey Burton, while also bringing John Noble's unique persona and charisma to the character. And you can still tell it's the same character. I mean, they don't change around the character of Brainiac to make him more charismatic. John Noble still maintains the way that John Noble plays him, you can still tell that it's Brainiac. I mean, his voice doesn't really raise all that much, and a lot of the time he can be fairly chilling. So yeah, I really like the cast. And even some of the minor players, like Alexander Gould as Jimmy Olsen, Frances Conroy as Martha Kent, Wade Williams as Perry White, they all do a good job. So yeah, the voice acting really helped win me over. It was one of the first things to win me over about this movie, because I was shocked at how much I loved a lot of these performances. Especially considering that, again, to my knowledge, none of them have played these roles before. I don't remember Matt Bomer ever playing Superman, but it seems like these actors really had some good direction. Again, Andrea Romano, she does very little wrong in terms of casting people for these characters. So yeah, the cast does a fantastic job. And I don't mean to discredit any of the previous casts or any of the previous new casts. Like, let's just go Justice League Crisis on Two Earths. I don't mean to discredit that movie, because that also had a lot of actors who had not voiced their respective characters. Like Mark Harmon had not voiced Superman before. William Baldwin, I don't think, had voiced Batman before. But yeah, I think these performances they're really impressive. They're really impressive here, and I would argue more so than a lot of the other quote unquote newcomers to these DC animated movies. There is such a confidence in these performances that you don't really normally see in in first timers, or at least those who are voicing these characters for the first time. I mean, usually it takes a bit of time for actors to get their feet wet to really settle into these characters. But no, it seems like these actors have been voicing these characters for years. So, not to put too much of a hyperbole on my praise, but yeah, really like the voice acting, and I also like the action. The action was very good, as it always is. I mean, for as recycled as I felt the premise to be, like Superman battling Brainiac, we've seen that before. For as recycled as that was, the action still did a pretty good job. The Brainiac drones still felt like they were a fairly legitimate threat. I mean, obviously Superman can handle one okay, but when he's up against numerous, and when he's up against Brainiac himself, the action scenes are fairly thrilling. Now, when it comes to Brainiac himself, the film also does a pretty good job of setting him up as a menace. He doesn't really come in until about halfway through, almost. 1/3 to halfway through the movie, Brainiac doesn't even come in. Up to that point, you just hear people talking about him. You just see flashbacks and the occasional drone. You don't actually see the big bad until a chunk of the way through the movie. So that build-up really helps to again build up the menace of this character. And when you finally do see him and you finally do hear John Noble's performance, it doesn't really feel disappointing, I don't think. The color scheme I like. The color scheme is appropriately bright. A lot of the designs feel appropriately energetic. I mean, yeah, they do feel cartoonish, but and some of them do feel kind of over the top. Like I'm trying to think. There are a few of the Daily Planet workers that do kind of look like stereotypes. Like this, there's this one very hairy guy that kind of keeps hitting on all the female characters in the movie. So in terms of design and in terms of voice acting, he's kind of over the top, but it never really takes you out of the movie all that much because this movie picks a style and it sticks with it. So I don't really have too much more to say on this movie. It's an accomplished Superman movie. Was it completely necessary? No. Is it counted among my favorites in the DC animated lineup? Probably not. But for what I got, for what I got with the excellent voice acting, the the appropriately the appropriately high standard action, the high octane action, and the fairly consistent pacing and and pretty good build up to the main villain. All of these work just well enough to make you overlook the fact that yes, they are doing another Superman movie. Yes, they are just doing another origin story of his relationship or his conflict with Brainiac. I mean, despite the fact that we have seen this before, they do just enough here, and the pros in this movie are just good enough to where you will probably acknowledge that you have seen this before, but you won't be bored. So that's about all I got. It's another solid DC animated movie, and yeah, do I love it? No, but I do really like it for various reasons. So next up, if I'm not mistaken, is Justice League. Well, Justice League: The Flashpoint Paradox. So, wow, that's gonna be fun.